Crab, Glacial Shard, that sort of thing would switch the matchup over. Now, I mentioned Secret Mage just a few minutes ago, and here's Ginger bringing it, I think, for the first time this week.
Yeah, I believe this is the first Secret Mage we've actually seen be played. There might have been, submissions of Secret Mage, but it wasn't chosen yesterday. But yeah, Hungary versus Portugal, Exego versus Ginger, Quest Rogue versus Secret Mage, and we'll see how this Secret Mage performs because there's been a lot of discussion about this deck, right? It's one of the newer archetypes that's come out in the past week or so, and some people have played it some great success. A lot of pros and a lot of people just think it's bad as well.
It's one of the least defined, or refined rather. Yeah. It's one of the least refined decks at the moment. People are playing it.
It is defined. It's Secret Mage.
It is defined. It's not refined. People are playing it in very different forms. Like, which are the correct secrets to include? That's something people have been debating on. Some people have been playing Spellbender, a card that you never thought you'd see actually put in a deck for such a long period of time. Some people have been playing it closer to Discover Mage, a more slow style.
Yeah, and Spellbender actually just really good versus Paladin. It just always gets value.
Yeah.
Because there's very few cards that even, there's no aggressive spell cards that you target anything with, and the ones you do target minions with are always buffs, which you end up stealing, like Spike Steed. But less about Paladin, more about Mage and Quest Rogue.
Yeah, we need to point out the elephant in the room straight away, and that's that there's a counter spell in Ginger's hand.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't expect to see a player of Exego's caliber fall for this, but it is possible that a certain quest reward gets just cancelled entirely.
Yeah, the quest, the actual spell that the quest gives you that makes your minions 5/5 for the rest of the game is a spell, so it can be counterspelled. The strange thing, I think, is, as you said, the seconds you start seeing secrets, although to be fair, this whole deck could be Discover Mage from Exego's and Hungary's point of view.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's nothing yet that sticks out as anything that wouldn't be a Discover Mage list, but once that is realized, then the real issue is not whether, whether you play into counterspell with the quest. It's how do you proc counterspell without the quest, because Shadow Steps are a nightmare. Counterspelling Vanish is a nightmare, not because you care about the Vanish, but because it's 6 mana. The only card in most lists that I've seen is doable is the Prep, actually. You just blow Prep, you say 0 mana on a card, counterspell, then just play the quest.
Because they don't usually run backstab anymore or anything.
Or Revis.
I'm wondering if there's any scenario in which Portugal decide to play it really sneakily, don't reveal the fact that they're Secret Mage, put the counterspell down before the quest is due to be complete, and just let Hungary assume it's an Ice Block or Ice Barrier.
Yeah, that could definitely happen here, because so far, hey, Medivh's Valley.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in every Mage deck. It's a good card.
And what do they do next turn? Probably, well, they probably just play the counterspell next turn, actually.
Maybe. Mimic Pod is another card you could use to do the counterspell, but the problem with Mimic Pod is that it's actually often than not higher value than Prep.
Yeah.
Most of the time, because it draws. Oh. Well, now he's got a spare. They just play with 3 Mimic Pods in the deck.
Yeah. It's not possible that the next draw is also a Mimic Pod. Things could get a little bit out of control there. That's probably the play this turn.
Well, not if you want to juke your opponent, right? If you want to make him think you're not Secret Mage, then Apprentice needs to stay in hand.
So the question that Portugal are going to have to ask themselves is it worth it? Do they need the tempo, or would they rather try and play these mind games?
Well, the real option they've got, or the general way you'd play this matchup, Secret Mage is normally a very aggressive deck, and Quest Rogue is weak to aggressive decks. So I wouldn't even mind the Sorcerer's Apprentice into Coin Counterspell here with the Mirror Image as well. Okay. And just go hard. Yeah. Because also you're like, how do you stop the quest being played? You can counterspell it, or you can just kill your opponent before they can even play it anyway. There's no minions that have been played yet anyway for Hungary and for Exego. You're already pushing 5 damage next turn at least. And look at what the hand tells us for Portugal. Frostbolt, Fireball, Violence.
That's a bit of burn, that.
Get him.
Yeah. I think that there definitely can be an argument to be made for playing the sneaky game, pretending that you're a Discover Mage, but you're absolutely right. That turn was just too good. 3 mana, and look at this board. Yep. Plus the secret. Now Exego has to play around it. They have got the Mimic Pods, as you said. That's probably going to be the best bet.
Well, they can't Mimic Pod this turn, right? Because they want to bounce the Firefly.
Yeah, well, you'd Mimic Pod and then potentially Shadow Step.
Sure. That's something you can think about.
Or do they want to proc the counterspell with the Shadow Step? How do they want to test for it?
It is
They
tough.
know that it's not Mirror Entity because they only just play the Firefly. So they're going to expect Counterspell.
Well, the list still run Ice Block, right?
Yeah.
So the list often run Ice Block, maybe even an Ice Barrier, but that's nowhere near as common. But yeah, it's just going to go for the Brewmaster, bounce the Firefly back into hand.
Okay.
Right, just get something onto the board because they just can't die to this aggression. What this does here is just, you're going to be playing the Flame Elemental anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait till the turn before you prot the quest, play them all, and then go quest. You can actually just use the Flame Elementals to start battling for the board. Blizzard, not a bad pickup at all. Violence
Portal's
Portal.
pretty good too. You know, Primordial Glyph is even more ridiculous than it already is with Sorcerer's Apprentice, because the Glyph itself gets a discount, and then the card you get from it also gets a discount. So you can actually really cheat mana and play cards even earlier than you were supposed to.
Yep. So this Ice Barrier could just be free, for example.
Yeah, it would be.
If Ginger really wants it. I do like the Firelands, though.
Firelands would be 1 mana off, unfortunately, but I agree. I think it's the pick without a doubt.
It's just because you can go 5 mana Firelands, 6 mana Fireball Ping, 7 mana Firelands.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a lot of pressure. And already, I imagine Ginger and Cereza and the rest of Team Portugal, of course, are going to be saying, okay, how many turns? How many turns is he dead? Rogue has damage permanence, right?
Yeah.
You deal damage to a rogue, they do not heal back up. So any damage you do sticks until the end of the game, until it's over one way or the other.
Playing it carefully, though, dealing with this board, frostbolting one minion, trading with the other, it makes a lot of sense because if they can protect the Sorcerer's Apprentice and the Medivh's Valet, then that's just 5 extra damage that could essentially go face every single turn.
Well, that's it. You trade in a Frostbolt to then hit again with Sorcerer's Apprentice. So it's the same amount of damage, except the minion's more valuable because it can potentially hit again, and also it reduces the spells, like you said.
Which is really paying off for Team Portugal this turn. Once again, they used all of their mana last turn very efficiently. They're getting a lot put onto the board. They've got the secret down. They've got a very high value hand here. I mean, this, for Discover Mage, for Secret Mage, for whatever, this is an awesome hand if you're the Mage.
So, Exego here, just 1 out of 4 so far on the proc. It does have the Firefly in hand to going up to 2, of course, but that's still quite a way away. There is the Ferryman and Brewmaster and Shadow Step, so this can be done very, very quickly indeed. But it's still going to take a turn or two to really get going. Then you have to still get through the mirror images. There's the counterspell on the Shadow Step. So one of the safer cards as well, prep Shadow Step. You just don't want to do anything that's either 2 value or the quest itself.
Yeah, so okay, 2 out of 4 now, as we can see. It's not going to take Hungary long to complete the quest, just as you said, but it's going to take them a lot longer to actually get stuff on the board. It's not like they can go, right, quest complete, now deckhand, here comes patches, trade, Balefin, put a baton. They're a long way off of actually doing that, and as Ginger picks up Arcane Intellect now, his hand was already looking pretty solid, and now when it runs dry, he's going to get even more stuff. I agree with you. I think Face is going to start to be the place right now.
Face is always the place as far as I'm concerned. There was an option there to go for Arcane Intellect and Fireball and just see what you draw as well, because you never know. But yeah, just what the Firelands Portal does is, 1, just put a very aggressive front to your opponent and develop the board behind these 2 mirror images, because looking at this board now, Dinger's probably thinking like, oh, if I go aggressive, I have enough burn to win. But if I go aggressive, I leave his minions to trade these mirror images out, and then he can access my minions.
Yeah.
So if I use Firelands Portal, let's put, say, 3rd, probably decent-sized minion onto the board, and Rogue isn't good at removal. Not Quest Rogue, right? Outside of Vanish,
Outside
we
of
might even see...
Just picked up a 2nd copy of.
Yeah, we might even see Vanish, but outside of that, you can't really remove stuff as Rogue unless you have the quest live.
And it's fine, though. I agree with with Ginger going the Face there, because even if there is a Vanish, who cares? Okay, he gets a Brewmaster back, he gets a 1/2 back. Yeah, quest's going to be complete soon, but by that point, you're already going to have won the game.
And there's Arcane Intellect for, 2nd Fireball, and the Firelands, and the Frostbolt. A lot of options here.
Look how much work that Sorcerer's Apprentice has done this game. It's not a card that's seen in Discover Mage at all. It's actually surprising when you look back at how little Sorcerer's Apprentice has been played since Ngoro until this deck.
Yeah. It's because a lot of the decks don't do like Freeze Mage would never play it because the setup is very straightforward, and then because Discover Mage came to be, you're not doing any combos with Discover Mage.
Really
the cards are very just straightforward.
Doesn't really care about tempo until you've got Medivh down, and then it's like late game tempo.
No,
Boom.
it's an anti-Medivh card, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Right. Okay. Face is definitely the place.
Job's done. There we go. Fireball gonna put Hungary onto 8. There's Violence Paul already for 5 damage, plus a minion. So this is a big ask now for Hungary and Exego onto what exactly they're going to do to deal with this, because this is one of the weaknesses of this deck. You can just get aggroed down very hard, and unless you've got really great answers, you just can't deal with it, and it doesn't matter that you've got 5/5s, your opponent just kills you that turn anyway.
Yeah, this is just one of the weaknesses as Rogue, as you were saying, no healing. They can tech Voodoo Doctors in, but it makes the rest of the deck weaker, so we haven't seen that tech in quite a while. Second Vanish is a little bit annoying for Portugal.
I think they're okay with it.
It's one more turn that they can't kill Hungary, but big deal. Hungary aren't making much progress in the meantime anyway.
Well, Vanish is the top of the curve in the Quest Rogue deck, and if they're spending all of their turn almost just playing one card and giving you back yours, great.
That's the third Firefly. So still haven't completed the quest. And I think when you're a rogue playing against an aggressive mage, it's turn 7 and you still haven't completed the quest, it's pretty obvious that you're in a bad position.
Yeah, and what we're going to see here, you know, if you look at this hand, this is a win for Ginger here. But what you're going to see is instead of just going Firelands, then going Ice Block into Medivh Valley, you Ice Block now, one, because there's the love hearts from the guys. You Ice Block now to remove all outs. There is no way you lose this game now, because there is just a niggling part, like a tiniest percentage, where Hungary go like prep, quest, charge, shadow step, charge, you know what I mean, and potentially do 30 damage. So Ginger and Team Portugal are just removing this potential, getting the ice block, getting the 3 damage from the Medivh Valley, put him to 5, and guess what? Violence Portal does 5 damage.
Yeah, I doubt that Team Hungary are even going to be the slightest bit surprised by the fact that there is a setup lethal. It's what mages have become very, very good at. It's probably their main trait since Ngoro. That's what they do. They create, they solve these lethal puzzles. They work out how they can get there in 1, 2, sometimes even 3 or 4 turns time without dying.
But most importantly, what's the minion that comes off? Abomination. Okay, well,
high fives all around.
That is the win for Portugal into game 1 versus predictable, right? That you oh, they're going to be playing Warrior. Definitely, we have to think about, can every single person that's bringing, you know, every single person with 2 classes each, can one of them beat Warrior? Because that's what you've got to think about.
I can tell you what's not predictable, and that's Zulok, which is very clearly being displayed in front of us right here. Zulok versus Jade Druid. I can't even say that I've seen this matchup recently. Have you?
I don't think anyone's seen a Warlock matchup at all recently, outside of Wild anyway. But Zoo has historically been strong versus Druid because they build an awkward board with high health minions that Druid can't really deal with. But I feel like more and more now, Druid has become very, very capable at dealing with a deck like this because they've had to be, right? Druid, they got the late game. When it's Jade Druid, the late game's covered. It's the early game they have to worry about losing to. But Tar Creeper is a card. Scales is a card. And both of these are the key cards that I think have been pushed this Jade Druid deck to almost dominance at the moment in the meta.
Well, there's one that you missed, and that's the mid to late game card, Primordial Drake.
It's also a pretty good card, I'll give you that.
Just giving Druid an extra board clear, which they've always struggled on. They have Swipe, and that's it. That's not even a board clear, really, unless you've got Thanos on the board. But Primordial Drake deals 2 damage to everything, and is probably a pretty good card against Zoo, thinking about it.
It's probably pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
So, looking at the opening hand, though, Hungary are looking pretty good with double Firefly.
Look at that card.
Malcazar's Imp.
And that card showing up in every deck ever now. Okay, that's slight exaggeration, but you'll be lying if you tell me that you haven't seen Firefly appear in a lot of different classes.
Yeah, well, mainly down to 2 things. The shape of it as a 1/2, it's just good to fight for board early on. And also, if I told you, okay, there's a card that you can put in your deck that when you play it, it puts a copy of itself in its hand. Almost, without the battle cry, of course. But, you know, it puts like a blank copy of it in your hand for free. Yeah, I'd probably play that card.
Sure. It was probably overlooked a little bit just because it's a 1/2, a 1-mana 1/2, which has historically been a pretty poor body. That being said, we lived in an age of Pirate Warrior, having a lot of 1/1s, which makes the 1/2 body better. And as you say, it's 2 cards for the price of 1. It's a 1-drop or a 2-drop.
Yeah.
And you can spread it about when you play it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Firefly does like going about a little bit. And it's going to be a very straightforward clear onto this Flame Imp. Nothing too fancy. But the key for Firefly as well is because even in more mid-range or control decks, if you're playing anything that wants to buff, hence why it can be good in Aggro Druid, can be good in Shaman, can be good in Zoolock, because they're all decks that benefit from having dudes on the board. It doesn't really matter how big they are. You just want stuff to stick. But this Druid of the Claw, now Swipe, Wrath, and Innovate with Feral Rage hand here for Cereza. This is all the stuff you actually want versus Zoo early on. So they've seen, both players have actually got the good end of the stick here in terms of hands.
No Tar Creeper, which is what you described, which would have been a great card against Zoo as well. But this seems perfectly fine. A lot of choices that Cereza could make here. He could innovate out Druid of the Claw, or he could play Feral Rage and just deal with Knife Juggler, or just Wrath something. I quite like the look of Druid of the Claw here, although you're then worrying a little bit about your hand size.
Yeah, I think if you innovate Druid of the Claw, do you actually just like it in charge?
Yeah, I think so. Just to get rid of Knife Juggler. Yeah.
If you charge it, then you're asking Hungary to deal 1 extra damage plus the Firefly that's on the board.
Then again, a Power Overwhelming doesn't exist anymore. And without Power Overwhelming...
Juggles do.
Juggles do?
That's the bad part, right?
How worried are you about the Juggles?
Well, you know there's at least one drop in the hand.
Cereza is not worried about the Juggles.
Cereza just doesn't worry about anything. He's a very happy guy.
I like this play a lot. I think, yeah, back when Power Overwhelming was a thing, you don't play a 4-6 when there's 2-2s on the board. But this is okay. Yeah, there are going to be several 1-drops in the hand. Cereza knows to expect at least 2 of them. Oh no, he doesn't. Now he knows that there's at least 2 more. But, okay, 1 just hit it. Now I'm scared.
Well, what the Druid of the Claw did do was that if it actually survives and doesn't get traded into nicely, it propels Cereza even further forward into the game, right? Whereas the Druid of the Claw in charge, you kill the Knife Juggler, but you're very susceptible to it just dying anyway.
Oh, doesn't that swipe look below average here? This is, again, the power of the 1-2s. Swipe just does very, very little to this board. May as well just Wrath the Knife Juggler.
But this is fine. Like, Swipe, I've seen more and more be used to actually deal with cards like Councilman, like the Pterodax potentially. Like the actual threats to help deal with a Doom Guard that's maybe traded into a minion. That's what you're really using Swipe for here. I think long gone are the days of Zoo minions all being 1-1s. Imp Gang Boss, gone. Implosion, long gone,
Speaking of the Pterodax, this looks pretty strong. Do you think we have a 4-mana 7/7 incoming?
Maybe. Or even, I really like the 4/7 Divine Shield option. It is really cool. Obviously, attack and Wind Fury, awesome, but
maybe
not when the minion dies straight away isn't great.
Death Rattle seems good. Health seems good.
I do like health, yeah. Health always feels great. Also, look at the hand for Xair. Double Argus. Yes, you want health on a minion. Like you can go really, really big with this Pterodax. This,
ladies and gentlemen, is the worst class in the game right now, and look at it go.
It's not doing too bad.
No.
I think of options here. I think Cereza will want to just clear the 1-2s off and isolate the 4/7 onto the board, because there's no nice way to deal with this at all this turn without just throwing away the Druid of the Claw. You may as well get value. But it looks like it's just going to go for the Nourish. I wonder if it's going to go for ramp or draw. Bear in mind, this is a Jade Druid that hasn't played any Jades yet or any ramp yet.
Yeah, it looks like he has to go for the draw just because his hand is so...
One-dimensional.
Yeah, let's go one-dimensional. It's all about clearing the board, and nothing actually really clears with the Ravenous Pterodax. Doomguard picked up on the other side. That's not actually good enough right now.
It's fantastic next turn.
It's great soon, like if you can get Malchezaar's Imp down, especially.
Well, this turn you could just defend of Argus with the Imp and the Pterodax, or with the 1-2 and the Imp, trade the Pterodax in anyway. The Pterodax is alive. You taunt up the 2 smaller minions, but there is a consideration to hide the Imp behind the taunt.
That's what I'd do.
So then Doomguard will get double discard next turn and draw you 2 cards, which is a very, very powerful play indeed.
Yeah, it's really strong. Sure, you're sacrificing the other Defender of Argus. Big deal. You get 2 more cards, potentially another Soulfire. When Malchezaar's Imp sticks to the board...
It might stink as well.
It might stink. Stinks to the board. It really does some work.
Yep. And it's one of those awkward cards. I liken it to Flame Tongue Totem, for example. It's not really doing anything as a minion, except its effect is so strong. And it does look like Hungary are going to protect the Malchezaar's Imp here. He could play it next turn as well. but this is just mana inefficient, right? You know, you can just get it down now, get a little bit of an attack in as well. So this is looking really, really nice. Going wide on the board for Xer. Still has the Death Rattle on the Pterodax that's going to summon 2/1/1 plants after it dies.
It's just such a strong play. You're sort of playing around everything as well, because swipe, okay, it does with 1 minion. If you lose the Malchezaar's Imp, big deal. You've still got a huge board, you've still got Doomguard coming down. There's no way you lose more than 2 minions at the very most, and the preparation that's gone into this Doomguard just makes the card absurdly strong.
Well, swipe at maximum removes 3 damage from this board. That's it.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of the tokens, and it doesn't kill any other minion. It looks like Cereza is deciding to use this second Nourish for ramp. Don't blame him. He needs to hit a turn where he does something crazy. You know, makes a huge impact. And with 6 mana this turn, swipe Hero Power does nothing.
Yeah.
Swipe Wild Growth still does nothing. He couldn't really double Feral Rage this turn, as it wouldn't really make any dramatic effect anyway.
He could do with picking up an Innovate just so that he can get this Gadgetzan Auctioneer going, because that could be one of the relevant cards. If he next turn could go Gadgetzan Auctioneer, Innovate, Swipe, and then maybe fit something else in as well, then he's starting to get off the ground a little bit. Also, getting closer to 10 mana is always good, because Jade Druids have been running Yogg-Saron. We saw it yesterday, we saw it last week, and that may be something that Cereza's thinking. I need to get to 10 mana in case I draw the Yogg-Saron.
Yeah, this is huge as well. There is a choice of going Argus with Runt here instead, but what Doomguard does is it puts your opponent on 5.
Yep.
Total. You draw 2 cards, which is great. One of them might be a 1-drop, so you can continue onto the board anyway. But also, Druid doesn't play Mulch, because it can't anymore. How does it actually deal with this Doomguard? The way it normally happens, Doomguard trades into a minion, Druid of the Claw, for example, or a Jade. Then you can swipe it, wrath it to finish it off. This is a full health Doomguard and a wide board. Cereza's in trouble.
Okay, so what are his outs here? He's got Gadgetzan Auctioneer and double Earthen Scales to gain 9 armor. That doesn't look like enough to me.
It'll be 10, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, it'd be 11. It'd be 5 plus 6, 11.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I was way off. He's got the Feral Rage, maybe plus a Swipe, which removes some damage off the board, gains 8 armor, but he's not making any progress. That Doomguard's going to stick around and continue to smack him in the face.
Yeah, I just don't think it matters anymore, to be honest. He can gain armor, but it'll just be, whichever way he chooses to gain the armor, he'll be so far behind anyway. There is, what, 7, 9, 12 power on the board, so he could gain 11, go up to 16. But so what? You back down to like 6 or 5 again anyway, so depending on what happens with this juggler. So it just doesn't really do much. You can just put you in the same position next turn, and there would have to be a Volcanic Drake draw? That would be the only thing that would keep him in it here.
Well, he's making the play. It did look for a second there like he was trying to swipe his own face, but he's not able to do that, so ends up on 14 health with 8 damage, staring him down on the board. So not out just yet. Oh. Doesn't really want to see another one of those, though.
Yeah, especially when there's just the Defender of Argus that it can chomp on. The Pterodax needs to kill a minion, a friendly minion that is, to get double adapt. Just in case you viewers at home haven't seen Warlock for the longest time.
Why are so many cards in Hearthstone themed around eating each other nowadays?
Are they?
Just you saying chomped on made me think of it, like all of the crabs. Maybe it's just the crabs. There's a lot of eating in Hearthstone.
It's going to be a social eating game soon.
Getting pretty hungry.
Oh, just Doomguard. That's 1 off, right?
Yep. Yep, that's almost it. Now, do you ever consider playing around Yogg-Saron if you're Exile here?
No. You just slam Doomguard, discard the Silverware Golem like a boss. There you go. Put so much pressure on the board. Put your opponent to 1, and, what is he realistically going to do?
Yeah. Well, again, that's the one thing I'd consider Yogg-Saron. If Yogg-Saron just played Flame Strike.
There's even been that many spells. There's been like 4.
Yeah, there's not been many.
Second swipe, not going to do it. And it looks like Team Portugal are going to fall to Zoo here, as this is going to be plus 11 armor, but it's just not going to be enough. So it's going to be relying on an Innovate to do something else here. Yeah. Maybe Innovate swipe.
A Wrath wouldn't be enough either. Primordial Drake is not going to do it. He gets to draw 3 more cards, but
Job's done.
I heard a job's done. I think that means that Cereza ran out of things to play.
That does indeed. Second Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Not going to do it along with those Jade Spirits in. Cereza just played a game of Jade Druid without playing a single Jade. And it went and it is going to be Dragon Priest, as we can see, going on here. So not looking too bad, although I can see a Vicious Fledgling here for Penadani. And if there's an innovate, that's one of, if not the strongest opening that Druid can even do.
In my experience, people concede the most on turn 1 to innovate Fletchling.
The only difference is that Priest could have Shadow Word Pain.
And Death. For when
Sure.
the Fletchling
Yeah,
buffs
yeah, yeah.
itself, yeah.
Because the idea with Fledgling is when it attacks, it actually gains, if it hits face, it gains adapt. And the biggest trick is you attack and you always adapt if you have the choice into Wind Fury, because you can attack again, then adapt again in the second time.
The thing that Fletchling can do, which can completely mess up Priest, is take cannot be targeted. And then, oh,
That's true.
Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Word Death, all useless.
Just wait till turn 6, Bookworm. Get him. Okay, so we're going to check out how this starts now. I think I saw a Chanted Raven, in the board. Yeah,
Saw a Raven or two.
Yeah, perked up a little bit there. And double Fledgling in the hand, so even if the first one's dealt with, the second one is a huge threat.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Hungary that that they didn't have the coin, they didn't have an innovate, they didn't have any way of pushing out the Fledgling early. But they're not going to be complaining. They've got Blood Cell Corsair ready to pull out patches on demand. Living Mana is a great card for them to restock on turn 5. Once they've just blown away their whole hand, they just take over the board and say, hey, Priest, deal with this or you lose.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things here with this turn. The hero power into the Cleric. One, you don't want the Cleric to live ever. Also, it could have been Blood Cell Corsair into the patches, but then what that means is the Corsair lives, and you, as an aggro deck versus Priest, you have to be constantly aware of Potion of Madness, because if you lose 2 minions to Potion of Madness for 1 mana for the Priest, you're in a great deal of trouble.
Dr. Boom just picking up a Shadow Word Pain there off of the Shadow Visions. Very, very well timed there. The Shadow Word Pain is just going to instantly get rid of the Vicious Fledgling. I don't think there's any world in which you consider just leaving that to wreak havoc. Though the second one may take Dr. Boom by surprise.
Yeah, I think the second one you probably comfortable because you can just drop Twilight Drake and just say, okay, this Fledgling might hit me for 6.
Yeah.
No.
There are still some wonky things that the Fletchling can do, though. As you said, first you Wind Fury, but then if you can Wind Fury and then Stealth, then the next turn you could get maybe gain some attack in the first hit and then Stealth on the second, and that thing can be unstoppable. AoE will always stop it as long as it's got 5 or less attack.
Why you get plus health?
We're looking at the Dragonfire Potion and hoping that the Fletchling doesn't get too out of control before that comes down.
This turn here for Hungary looks... there's a couple of options, though. There is the Fledgling, or you could go into the Corsair Crab into Power of the Wild. Or there's a mixture between the both, and you can go halfway in between and save the Power of the Wild for a big buff turn. And here we go. What is going to happen here? Dr. Boom. The Twilight Drake just looks fine.
Yeah.
Just put a big dude on the board. He can start hitting the major threats from the Druid, whereas you try and just hold out for the Dragonfire Potion to clear the board once. But for Penadeni, we can see Living Mana in the hand as well. So once that board's cleared once, Living Mana comes down and you go, okay, well, can you clear it again? Because if not, you're in the same kind of boat.
Yeah, this gets really scary for the Priest, because Druids also have 4 copies of cards that buff all of their minions. They've got double Mark of the Lotus, double Power of the Wild, and then Savage Roar, and any of the other stuff. I've even seen some people playing Evolving Spores.
Yes.
It's not as common, but you want to start clearing things. You really need to start clearing things, because double Power of the Wild next turn, plus Mark of the Lotus is a possibility. And what does that board look like after that play?
Scary, that's one.
Yeah.
Very scary.
It looks scary.
Yeah, the Spores is one of those weird cards where you don't see it commonly, but when you do, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Please, you look at either Wind Fury across all minions or plus attack, and you just die. Very, very scary indeed. They'd go with the Priest of the Feast, and what this does is kind of gives the incentive to Hungary to try and kill it. Because if you leave it alive, there could be face damage that just gets healed back up again.
Yeah, even though... So the Priest of the Feast sort of has this pseudo-taunt. Though I don't think I've ever seen a Vicious Fletchling hit a minion that has pseudo-taunt. It's one of the only...
I've never seen a Vicious Fledgling hit a minion.
Yeah, well, it hits a minion that's got proper taunts.
No,
sometimes.
you just don't attack.
But it's
you just don't trade in.
Okay. It's one of the only minions that just never hits a minion.
So Wind Fury Stealth or Wind Fury plus attack would be great here. Insta plus 3, okay. So Wind Fury wasn't an option. We didn't quite see the options there because that was a lightning pick. But Wind Fury is always taken no matter what if it's offered.
Now Dragonfire Potion not quite going to do it. Because Hungary made the trades, Portugal's going to have to work really hard. It's a 4-7. It's got 4 attack. 4 attack, Raven.
Well,
4 attack.
Don't know what you're talking about, fam. Don't know what you're talking about.
Do you need me to explain it?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
This is why I thought the Twilight Drake was potentially a better play, because your opponent isn't going to trade into it, and it's immune to Dragonfire Potion on its own side of the board. So either way, it's going to survive and then probably be able to chip off anything that somehow survives the Dragonfire Potion for the Druid. But the Priest at Feast gave like a way for Hungary to play around AoE, which was weird. Instead, it's going to be followed with just the Bookworm to now start battling for this board.
The adapt that the Fletchling gets this turn is actually really important because next turn may be Portugal's last chance to actually get rid of it. If Penadani doesn't get a way of buffing its health or concealing it somehow, then it's just going to die. Didn't actually get any of them.
Okay, you take the spores, right?
Yeah, I think you take the spores because it definitely dies this turn.
Yeah. Well, not even that. You don't want a plus attack because then it can be death.
Yeah, yeah.
So you just leave it at 4 and just take the spores and say, well, you either AoE and trade into it or it lives. Great.
Obviously, the saving grace for Hungary is, as you said, living mana. Next turn, you can just put 7 2/2s on the board, and it doesn't look like Portugal are going to have a way of getting rid of them.
Yeah. Power of the Wild, there's a choice there. Power of the Wild makes the board go a little bit wider in case there's no AoE. What this does is just provide more pressure. If there's AoE, you can just live in mana, like you said. So having this mana available in hand for Penadani just means that it just alters his options so dramatically that you can play Power of the Wild as a 3/2 when you have minions on board, which feels weird, right, as the aggro druid.
Penadani is going to regret going too wide with the Power of the Wild there because he did just lose things for free. And in fact, imagine the Power of the Wild was in hand right now. Penadani could make these trades, put living mana on the board, 7 2/2s, and the following turn innovate Power of the Wild and hit with a bunch of 3/3s. So he may regret that a little bit, though he's still looking okay for the time being.
I mean, to me, this is still an empty Dragon Priest board that you can go wide on living mana.
Well, he's got 1 turn, right? Because there's a certain 8-mana dragon in Dr. Boom's hand, which if I was Penadani, I'd be hoping that card's not there.
I mean, is there anything Nether Spike can get? Because otherwise, this is just game.
Yeah.
This is the fear of living mana. Once you've used your AoE, it's still 14 damage on the board, 15 with hero power, without buffs. And we can see an innovate, so any buff that is drawn will be usable, but there's already too much damage, and that isn't a taunt.
The thing is, I don't think there are any cheap Dragon Taunts anymore. There's no Chillmore, there's no Twilight Guardian.
That's true, yeah, there's nothing that could really get the work done, and that is the power of the card called Grow matchups, or you can just Spirit Echoes things from below to just create even more free 5/5s.
It's almost the replacement to Bran, isn't it? Because instead of getting double Jades one way, you get it another way. It's more versatile, but harder to pull off because you actually need your minions to die to get their effect a second time.
It looks like Chaincaller is going to just be playing the Discover Mage. We saw Medivh, we saw the Valet, and Medivh and Violence Portal being the big nods to Discover Mage, unless this is a very, very slow Secret Mage, but I genuinely doubt it. 2
of the important cards to have in this matchup as well, because getting this strong late-game presence can really help shut the Shaman down. The problem is, Hungary Chaincooler doesn't actually want to have these cards just yet. He'd rather have drawn them, turn 6, turn 7 when he can actually use them.
Yeah, but you look at the other side of the hand now, especially with Mana Worm, the Arcanologist into Valet is insane. Arcanologist thins your deck, pulls a card out into your hand, so now you know you're not going to draw one of your secrets, so your draws just increase in value as time goes on. Mana Worm, really good aggressive play, but Hungary playing around a little bit with the secret makeup. That is a mana bind into the hand there, so they're not just playing the usual ice block, ice barrier.
And that came from the deck, didn't it?
Yeah, he pulled it with Arcanist.
It did. There's not been any Discover effects. Huh. That is a surprise. I have to just admit that that's a huge surprise. Alexstrasza being picked up. This is a Discover Mage. There's no 2 ways around it. This is a Discover Mage. It's just there's some surprising text. What do you think about Mana Binds? Does it make sense to you?
I like Mana Bind as a card. I liked it as soon as I saw it because invest early into a secret that can have some like mind game potential for a start, and also you gain a free spell. I did like it more when everyone was trying to make time warp work, because that makes even more sense, right?
Antonidas Fireball.
You play a secret and then gain a free card that isn't from your deck, so that sounds more reasonable. I don't know how it's going to perform. I think this is a card that will be used at the moment, at least. It's just a trick card, right?
Yeah.
You play a secret, then your opponent plays Lightning Storm. Hey, Lightning Storm against Shaman is actually pretty good, and you get it for free. You will overload, but the spell itself is 0 mana.
I think it's maybe even a card that's better than people are thinking it is, because the few examples I can think of where I've seen it played, I've seen 0 mana Flame Strikes come out of Mana Bind.
Yep.
I've seen 0 mana Pyroblast. Genuinely.
I've played the Rogue quest as Mage from Mana Bind.
For free?
So, yeah. It's pretty, oh, you've got 5/5s. Interesting. So have I. I think the problem, though, with Mana Bind in this list is that a lot of the time with this Discover Mage, you need to draw Ice Block. You need to buy that additional turn. You have to. And then if you Arcanologist into Mana Bind, you're like, I just lose. As opposed to, this will now gain me my 1 turn to deal enough damage or draw the right card to then win the game. So we'll see if the pros are going to overtake the cons here with this secret as Ignite starts to apply this awkward pressure that Shaman does so well. Oh, some tiny, tiny minions. Flame Tongue. 6 damage out of nowhere.
Now, Flame Tongue is not a common card in the slower Shaman lists that we were describing before, so this is looking more like a mid-rangey, maybe token Bloodlust Shaman, rather than the elemental Jade slow thing that we were talking about before. We've seen the Jade Claws, obviously, but then what Shaman doesn't run Jade Claws now?
Exactly. I think that the funny part with Shaman in terms of the decks at the moment is you could just put a lot of the Shaman cards in a list and it's probably good. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's you put all the token-based stuff, Firefly is just great because Flame Tongue's a card, because Bloodlust's a card. Jade cards are just probably some of the strongest Jade cards in the game outside of maybe Idol for the late game for Druid. But yeah, in general, this is looking really, really strong. Stonehill Defender, though, does give a nod to the Spirit Echoes list. But let's be honest, Flame Tongue, a card I wish was nerfed, to be completely honest. So
no, I know, we've had many discussions about this in
I
the
would
past,
probably, if I played a Shaman deck, I would probably just auto put Flame Tongue in there.
Sure.
The card's just great. Works with your hero power. What more do you need?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the decks that we've seen over the last few weeks have been so heavy value-based that they just can't afford to put this extra little thing in to deal the damage.
But you can Spirit Echoes a Flame Tongue and just replay it.
You can do
go.
that. That is a play that you can make, Raven.
All the value.
Well, and it's in this deck, so I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be as slow as what we've seen recently, but it's obviously not going to be as fast as what I just described. Lightning Storm is a hint to that, but Stonehill Defender is a bigger hint to that. I wonder what he's hoping to pull from it. Alakir and Hot Spring Guardians being the two... Oh, and Earth Elemental being the 3 taunt Shaman cards that spring to mind.
You're missing one.
I'm missing one.
Pretty big one.
Pretty big one.
It's casual White Eyes.
Oh, White Eyes,
is,
right. I got that just before you said it.
I actually mouthed it to him silently, so he
Of
could,
course
try and get there first. I give him a chance.
Get production to back me up on that.
Yeah. So Primordial Glyph going to open up a Frostbolt, and now you start seeing Chaincaller maybe piece together his puzzle here with this mage list. Okay, I have Alexstrasza, I have Frostbolt, a free Frostbolt, a Silence Pole, and a Medivh's Valet.
Huh.
That'd be a lot of burn. But this is what I mean. When you start putting together this plan, a pretty key piece to that puzzle is going to be the Ice Block, right? You need the Ice Block to say, I can Alexstrasza and not worry about dying, then we'll start bursting.
Yeah. Imagine if the Mana Bind picked up a Jade Lightning or something as well. Right?
Yeah.
How much damage is this? Alexstrasza, Frostbolt, Jade Lightning in 1 turn.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's 7 plus however much Alexstrasza does for the answer there.
It does.
You wanted an actual answer to that question.
Thank
How
you.
much damage is this? Frostbolt and Jade Lightning in 1 turn.
Well, Alexstrasza it deals X damage, and then, yes.
X plus 7.
Okay. I can actually coin out Frostbolt as well on the same turn. That's
10.
X plus 10, yeah. Thank you.
Lorinda maths.
Thank
Lorinda
you.
maths when Lorinda's not even here. You'd love it.
Thank you, Raven.
He is listening, though. Another Fireball just adds to the thought process behind this plan, I would say. I'm going to use it to stay a little bit safe. Again, would you do this? You are a lot of turns away.
Oh,
You're a lot of turns away from Alexstrasza.
Yeah.
So if this was, edging to turn 8 and 9, you would Medivh Alexstrasza go. But because it's not, I think you do have to be wary. There's no ice block, so there's no safety precautions here.
Yeah, well, you've definitely given up the illusion that there is an ice block. That's something that I think that play has potentially done. Sacrificing 12 damage is a lot to be throwing out.
Yeah, but against Shaman with so much healing, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe we've seen players take the route of, I'm going to just kill all your stuff, then win with the Medivh.
Okay.
So there are routes where we've seen, I mean, not what I would probably go with most of the time, but just the removal option. Because look at Violence Portal, right? Kill your minion, generate a minion of my own. Like, that's actually just pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So it is doable.
And you're right. I think Medivh is going to have to be the main win condition here. If Hungary can get Medivh down and stick, then I guess you just then play Alex and hit in the face with Medivh. If it doesn't stick, then you play Firelance Portal. If that sticks, Alex, hit in the face with the minion you get from Firelance Portal, and so on and so on. So Lightning Storm may actually be a good grab from Manabind for Chaincrawler here, because Ignite's gone very, very wide. Lightning Storm will be free. Medivh plus Lightning Storm, well, you lose out on it. Well, I guess you play Storm and then Medivh.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying earlier about the Lightning Storm is, and about Manabind, well, you look at the AoEs, even Maelstrom isn't that bad.
Yeah.
You know, like, just AoE against Shaman is good, so if this Lightning Storm is played, great. But the problem here is Lightning Storm won't ever go that wide.
Yeah.
It's like Lightning Storm probably won't be played for a long time until maybe we see Medivh plus spell to make the minions. So
well, Lightning Storm plus Maelstrom will deal with
the majority of
Medivh
what's going to be
board.
summoned. Yeah. Okay, so Chain calling out. Facing down a bit of a wide board from Ignite, and Team Portugal here has Arcane Intellect to just very simply cycle. You know, just I'm going to draw 2 cards, see what happens. Has gone for the route for Coin Medivh. This applies pressure onto Ignite. Ignite now, instead of saying, okay, build a board, threaten lethal, so on, is now, I have to deal with Medivh and then consider the outcomes of the Atiyesh spells.
I really like this play as well because it allows Hungary to curve out perfectly. They've got Medivh into Firelance Portal into Alexstrasza. So assuming that something sticks around from the Firelance Portal, there is going to be damage connecting to Ignite's face after Alexstrasza has set him to 15.
Yeah.
And now Ignite is just trying to decide whether this is worth a Hex or what could come out of the Atiyesh that might be worth a Hex.
It's definitely a tough one because this is the weird thing about Medivh, right? You are always focused on the weapon, right, and the power of Atiyesh, but Medivh's a 7/7. Like, that dude can punch. You know, he's gonna just gonna whack you in the face and you die. But
With his rod, with his Atiyesh.
Yeah, exactly. Just hit you in the face with the Raven Staff. Yeah. But if you hex it, as you said, you have no idea what's coming out of this staff in terms of minions. They could be even worse than a Medivh, especially when you get to consider cards like, a little bit later on, of course, but like Pirate Blast. You just get, a 10 cost. Absolutely crazy.
Such a disappointing taunt from that Stonehill Defender earlier.
Missing a 4/6, I think.
A 7-mana 4/6 do nothing.
Yeah. Not quite Curator.
No. I wonder if... no, I guess Medivh goes into the 4/6 and then the Firelance Portal gets rid of the Stonehill Defender here. I was wondering for a moment if you Firelance Portal and use the Atiyesh to hit the Veclaw, but that seems terrible. So. That seems terrible, yeah.
So Medivh's still on 3. It does mean Medivh's going to potentially die to a Lightning Storm, but other than that, I think it's fine.
But then that makes the next turn for Chaincaller, Lightning Storm plus Alexstrasza plus use your minion to smack the face. That seems pretty good to me.
Only if there's taunts, though.
Yeah.
Because if there's no taunts, even if there's minions, I don't think you want a 0-mana Lightning Storm with Atiyesh down, because you'll create a 0-mana minion. He's going to swing.
I guess you could make the argument that he doesn't have any other high-value spells in his hand. Or high mana cost, spells in his hand. So I guess Arcane Intellect, and that's about it. Definitely a debatable decision, but he's still got a 7/6 on the board now.
Yeah, now the 5/7, the Thresher Den is going to look pretty good as it death rattles into 3
Murlocs.
Yeah.
That's really, really strong card. Not good enough to see play, but really strong from this position.
Yeah. If you could just generate this card onto the board, you'd be happy.
Yeah.
And there is Manabind.
Okay. As predicted about 6 turns ago, it picked up a Lightning Storm.
This is horrible, though. The Fire Elemental can clear up the Medivh. The 1/2 can go into the 4/1, but you Fire Elemental into a minion that auto kills the Fire Elemental.
Yeah.
So you know you are just behind.
Yeah.
There's no matter what you do here.
Well,
Ooh, gonna skip it. Oh, okay, gonna go for double portal
And then
into
trade
clear,
Maelstrom.
and then just. Yeah, this is actually really good. This is way better than what I was looking at. Slightly distracted by the Fire Elemental, just about fitted into that turn.
yeah, no, it's understandable because of how the mana worked out, but this is so good. The second Maelstrom portal will clear up the Murlocs if Ignite even decides he needs to.
One of the frustrations here, Ignite being kind of lucky that he got the egg there, because he's going wide on a board that he knows his opponent's just got a Lightning Storm to,
Yeah.
which is kind of frustrating. But now,
Oh.
never mind.
Okay, well now Hungary are at a crossroads because they're almost definitely going to play the Alexstrasza. I think that goes without saying. But then what do? Do you play Lightning Storm this turn and let the Atiesh summon a Wisp? Or do you hold the Lightning Storm, next turn play Pyroblast, summon a 10-mana minion?
You go face Pyroblast next turn.
Yeah.
I think you can wait.
Yeah.
You have Ice Block. And what are the odds on actually just dying here? You know, from these minions, when you have Alex down as well. You've already, you've not seen any hexes yet, so you know you might be a little bit worried about Alex just getting shut down.
Well, yeah, I stand corrected. That's not an Alexstrasza.
So Chaincall's going to go just to get a little bit more burn available.
Ooh.
And Cobra, not bad.
That is a significant amount of extra burn damage. A Medivh Valet and a Fireball. There's no secret on the board yet, which means the Medivh Valet kind of costs 5 because you've got to play the barrier as well. Though Hungary have set up the barrier in advance, they're hoping it doesn't proc this turn.
Okay, so the problem with the Alex play is that you're a little bit open to dying, of course, or you just don't have enough burn. If Alex is hexed, then you go Pyro, then you just have Frostbolt.
Yep.
Like, that's actually just not lethal. Yeah. So let's go for the slightly safer route here, which is absolutely fine. Now Ignite's going to discover that it is Ice Barrier and work out what he wants to do here. Devolve in Ignite's hand. Not really going to get too much value against this mage deck, to be honest.
Nah, given that there's been a Hex sitting there doing nothing for such a long time, I haven't seen an opportunity where Devolve would have been good, apart from maybe that turn after the Medivh. But the Lightning Storm plus double Maelstrom cleaned that up nicely. Devolve not actually going to do all that much. Second Firelands portal coming from Hungary here. Is this the Alexstrasza turn? Alexstrasza's just looking a bit weaker than last time to me.
Well, I think it's the Lightning Storm turn. You
Yeah.
could potentially Lightning Storm, almost
Ah.
clear everything, and then Alexstrasza afterwards.
No, because the Overload. If he plays Lightning Storm now, he actually won't be able to play Alexstrasza next turn.
Oh, you could play it this turn if you cleared. Right?
Oh, you mean before? Before the Violence portal?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, you
right.
could have Lightning Storm if the Storm hit the Flame Elemental for 3. Then the Arcanologist trades into the Flame Elemental, the Fire Elemental, sorry, and then you just play Alex on top of that on an empty board almost.
I'm with you now. I was already looking at the Firelands portal, which has been played.
It's so shiny.
So next turn though, Alexstrasza plus Lightning Storm probably will be the play. That Flame Tongue Totem's definitely going to pick up some value here.
Told you, Flame Totem, good card.
Yeah, clearly.
With the Runic Egg as well, gonna get Ignite, draw 1 additional card. Gonna be pretty nice. Can effectively clear the board if he really wants to. Second Hex.
Okay, so that Alexstrasza isn't going to survive for very long, regardless of what happens. But the damage is going to be done at that point. There's no healing in Ignite's hand. There's no Jinyu. There's no Hot Springs Guardian. There's no. Well, there's nothing.
I wonder if you use a Hex now.
What to do?
Because what's your second Hex for, is my question. Against this mage deck.
Yeah.
You've dealt with Medivh and everything that's come out of the Atiesh. You have 1 Hex for Alexstrasza. They don't run anything else, normally. Yes, there's nothing stopping them putting Antonidas in the deck as well, but it just isn't likely. It's just not the way the deck's built.
Yeah, he's been holding on to them to the first one at least, for a very long time. It just looks like there's 3 completely useless cards in Ignite's hand.
And it also looks like Ignite is playing the minimal elemental shaman. I'm going to start calling it the minimalist version, because he's not played Flame Elemental because he wants to draw the Kalamos.
The dodgy thing about that is that, great, you draw Kalamos next turn, it requires a turn to set it up. You can't just drop Flame Elemental and Kalamos the same turn. You have to play one.
It is better than playing the Flame Elemental, not drawing Kalamos, then drawing Kalamos, so you're like, well, I guess I lose.
Granted, yeah. But now things are looking pretty good for Chaincaller. This game is over very, very soon, unless Kalimos does get picked up immediately. That's why Ignite has now gone ahead and played the Flame Elemental, because he realizes Alex Strauss has come down. If I'm not dead this turn, Kalimos is my out. I need to prepare for it now.
This wouldn't be the first time in global games where we've seen Kalimos off the top with a Flame Elemental setup and then healing out of range of burst damage. But here comes the Lightning Storm. Not much Ignite can really do. Like, he's not like, oh, I can't play minions anymore because he has a Lightning Storm. That's not how the game works.
All right. 5 health left, Ignite.
Hot Spring.
That's not good enough. There's a Fireball, plus a Medea's Valet, plus a Frostbolt in Chaincaller's hand, and a Primordial Glyph.
Yeah, and Ignite probably knows that's not good enough. You often, look at all the celebrations already from Hungary. They're going to be looking fantastic, but you know, if Pyroblast goes face, your opponent has follow-up. That's just the way you play, right? So the odds on him not having enough burn to outdo the Hot Spring Guardian was very, very slim.